Ponytails podcast. Here we go. What's up, everyone? Andre Scamboa here, and this is our special edition, July 4th, Ponytails podcast special episode. What? We got a special treat for you guys today. I am joined by a panel of 3 book guys who were all #1 first years. By the way, before we get someone to message us on Instagram, we did try and reach out to several women who were #1 first years, and we never got a text back. So I don't know what that means, guys. Guess the #1 guys are just better at texting than the #1 girls in the last 20 years or something like that. Who knows? But we're excited to be chatting with you guys today about some fun 4th of July stories and just overall catching up with some of these gentlemen about what they're up to now. Before we could dive into the show and into some introductions, a couple of announcements, guys. Our merch is out. Go get yourself some Ponytail Podcast gear. Here is a little bit of the look of the lineup. You go to our website, theponytailspodcast.com, click on merch here on the top right tab, and boom, look at that. We got some hoodies. We got a cool hat, units t-shirt, of course, the YOUNITS, right? You can go select options. They come in different colors, right? So it's pretty awesome. You guys can go get yourself some of that gear and go represent some ponytails wherever you go. Next announcement is you guys need to join us for BIZZLER. It is going to start August 15th. If you haven't heard, BIZZLER is the alumni trip that we're planning out to Cancun. We have a decent group of people going, and we are super excited about it. A couple excursions that are being voted on right now as we speak, but the deadline to sign up is July 15th. If you want more details, there's a link below in the bio of the episode, in the description of the episode, wherever you're listening on to this, and you can just click on that. There's like a little video. You can get all the details about it, or you can just go ahead and get signed up. There's a second link that you click on, and that'll get you signed up. So join us for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. See you guys in Mexico, in Cancun. Speaking of which, quick shout out for one of our partners here. We'd like to give shout out to our jockeys. These are the people that are alumni who have poured into us and helped us out and help us grow and, produce the show a little bit better for you guys, so the quality is consistently improving. If you guys we're using Elevate Wellness with our BIZZLER preparation. I'm actually currently right now doing the BIZZLER shred that they have, which is kind of like a 6-week program to get you guys in shape. So these guys this was started by Seth Hood and Zane Gallagher, and they are the people who are, a good resource for you to go and get yourself in the best shape possible. They've invested like $30,000 into the resources and training to kind of help them learn everything they need to know to help people feel the best about themselves. So if you have questions about fitness, not sure what workout or nutrition that you need to be on, or you just need help with accountability, which is usually most people's problem, is make sure you guys reach out to us. We'll put you in touch with them. You guys can get pricing about their programs. Now that we're doing shout outs, we are also starting something a little bit different, where we had our jockeys give us some advice, tips of the trade, and some cool entrepreneurial little gold nuggets that they could think of. These are coming to you guys in the format of our Derby meetings, which are held every other Friday. All our sponsors get together and share some cool nuggets and wisdom of their industries. But this one's for Will Metscher. We love you, Will. Love you, buddy. Wish we were here, but you should have been #1. Sorry about it. But his tip for the week was that we're really good at avoiding things that are hard if we're not intentional about seeing hard things and as good and helpful. So doing one more rep, pushing yourself even 1% more every day prevents you from letting yourself off the hook of growth. So making that choice a habit makes it easier for you to end up overcoming your biggest challenges. So that is some fresh hot wisdom from Will Metscher. Tune in for the next few episodes, and we're switching it up every once in a while there so you guys can hear some more wisdom. This is some wisdom from Quintin Roberts and Cardinal Senior Benefits. This one's actually straight from the Derby meeting that we had a couple weeks ago. And his thing is a lot about overcoming challenges, and his idea was that you can change the neurochemistry of your brain by reading someone else's thoughts. So you can read books, go read some books. Our recommendation so far has been The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Love that book. If we can use other people who are more resilient than us, who are smarter than us, who have been there before to shape our thoughts, we shall become like them. So check that out. Now, time for some introductions. Guys, number one first years. We're going to start out with the most previous or the oldest one here. So the first person we have here is Brandon Q, aka the Mortician. He sold 8 summers from 2009 to 2016, part of the Force organization. He went to the University of Northern Iowa from Boone, Iowa. And the way you can get a hold of him is by texting him. His number is 515-230-2000. I don't remember what else he told me. His favorite scroll, though, is I will persist until I succeed. So I'm going to bring him onto the screen. What up, bro?
What's up, man? I told you to say it in Mike Jones form. That was what I said.
I'm sorry. I couldn't do it right.
Send me a text message. Yes, glad to be here. Glad to be back. Long-time listener, second-time attendee on the podcast, and you're moving up in the world. This is awesome, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Up next, the number one first year from 2010, who sold 6 summers from 2010 to 2015, also part of the Force organization, represent. Went to the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, originally from Scottsbluff, Nebraska. You can reach him at his Instagram, Shane Hertig, literally just at Shane Hertig. That's ShaneHertig on Instagram. His favorite scroll is I Will Act Now. Without further ado, make some noise for Shane Hertig. Beep, 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 beep.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Andres. Hey, Brandon.
Good to see you, buddy.
It's always good to see. It's always good to see Shane Hertig, ladies and gentlemen. And last but not least, coming in as the number one first year from 2013. He sold for 3 summers from 2013 to 2015, part of the Eagle Blitz organization. Nobody's perfect. From Texas A&M and from Bjorn, Texas. I hope I pronounced that right. I don't even know how to say that, man. I don't know, man. I'm not from Texas.
Bernie.
I live in Portland.
It's Bernie. Come on.
It's Bernie, Texas. Hey, sorry about that. Hey, thanks, Shane.
Say
Bernie,
Bjorn,
Texas.
Like BJ.
I don't, dude. It's my second language. Okay. Gosh, you can reach him at 210-269-1767, and his favorite score was also number 3. I will persist until I succeed. Without further ado, make some noise for Kyle Kelly. Woo-woo! What up?
Hey,
dude.
Kyle in the house.
All right, guys. So first things first. First things first. Alcohol. Are you guys with me on this, or who's drinking? Is it just me? I'm alone. Brandon's got his water in his Isogenics bottle. Is everybody drinking water besides me?
Got some water. it's in a circle brewing glass.
I'm partying all of
spirit.
The 4th of July weekend. I'm hungover. I need to rehydrate.
This is being recorded a little earlier, of course. We did not.
You're ruining it. That's show business.
People know at this point, I think, because I mean, who the hell would give me time on the 4th of July?
Well,
I would.
I'm preparing then. I'm getting hydrated for the dehydration that will take place.
That's actually probably smart. Well, all right. Well, I'm gonna drink some Topo Chico to start out with to get loose here. But just a heads up, everybody listening, we only have Shane for about another 30 minutes, maybe. And so, because he's having a great day, we'll just say it that way. He's having a wonderful afternoon, and so he needs to dip out a little early to do some celebrating, I guess, if you will. Isn't that right, Shane?
Yeah, do some paperwork. So we'll call that celebrating.
Come on, man.
Sorry, I was trying to be sarcastic.
Paperwork, celebration, same thing.
Yeah, if you're a teacher, that's probably not true. All right, guys. Well, let's jump into the episode. I guess each of us, if you could take Shane, we can start with you. Maybe go to Brandon and then Kyle, but catch us up on what you guys are up to. What are you guys doing today? And then we'll dive into some Southwestern 4th of July stories. But I would want to give you guys a chance to kind of, promote what you're doing.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Andres. So I sell solar in Texas, live down Austin, and work with homeowners all over Texas, helping them install solar panels and batteries. So that's why I have to jump out a little bit early here is we got a big rebate going away. I think I helped maybe 8 people today get started with the projects, and that's about 3 hours worth of paperwork that I got to do after this. So hopefully I can get it done by midnight. That's the goal.
Brutal. The solar business is pretty lucrative, though, as we'll find out later on. But that's pretty awesome, man. Congrats. 8 custody day.
Yeah, that's never done that before. So on track for our busiest month ever. But it's just it's hot out. Electric rates are high, and people want solar panels and they want batteries because Kyle gets it. Here in Texas, we've had some trauma recently with our grid.
Yeah, you guys got some snow and it all went away, and it was kind of a scary deal for sure. On that note,
no, it was very scary.
Yeah, for sure. On that note, Mr. Kelly, how about you? Let us know what you're up to.
Absolutely. So my wife, Karen, and I, we're actually having a baby here in the next 2-3 weeks. This will be our third girls. We have Charlotte, who's 3, Lucy's 1.5, and then this baby. We weren't sure about a name, and then I found out my wife was buying monogram stuff. So I think the name's going to be Eleanor Shaw Kelly, I was told. So we're excited for that. We live in Fort Worth, built a house in the middle of COVID, and I live in Fort Worth, work in Dallas with the company Marsh McLennan. We're a commercial insurance broker, so more of a consultant and on risk and then on insurance. But I work with the commercial construction industry and then some real estate, transportation, different things that come, but essentially insure to build just about anything but homes. So great.
That's pretty cool.
I'll be with you.
Dang, third girl though. Congratulations. 1, 2, 3. How'd you do it? Oh man, that's awesome, brother. Congrats. So awesome, man. I don't have kids yet. I just got married this year, but that's the next thing, and that'll be an exciting time. Congrats. And then yes, sir. Over to the mortician, my man, Brandon Q. Catch us up on what you're up to now.
Yeah, so I am super excited working with Southwestern Investment Group. I say that tongue in cheek. I talk about financial planning, wealth management. I think people's eyes roll back to the back of their heads. It puts them to sleep. It gets boring. But I went straight from the bookfield after my last summer in 2016, and then moved to the former sister company. We've since bought ourselves out from the family of companies. But Southwestern Investment Group is who I work with. My wife and I are in. My wife Amanda and I were in Omaha. I'm coming to you from my Iowa office. That's why I don't have any whiskey with me right now, because I'm at our Southwest Iowa Clarinda office. But I do wealth planning. I help families, individuals, businesses when it comes to saving for retirement, managing their wealth, tax strategies. So super boring stuff I'm working on right now. You talk about reading books. I'm working on being an enrolled agent with the IRS. So getting, in addition to being a certified financial planner, an enrolled agent, working on different designations and certifications. So it's not all that exciting. What I'm passionate about is lots of other different things. Like I've recently started training for half Ironman in September. Last year I did the Des Moines Marathon. I ran a Spartan race with Shane. We got to go to Hawaii in August and do a Spartan race. So just like different challenges. So that's sort of what's consuming a lot of time right now is working on training for that. But yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'm up to these days. Don't have any children yet. We got the 2 dogs, Georgia and Pippa, the 2 little corgis. But we did welcome a niece into the world this past week. Her name's Lola. So Amanda's brother and his wife had their first daughter. And so my wife kind of has baby fever right now too. So it'll be sometime here in the next couple of years, probably we'll start trying. So if it were up to her, we'd probably already be trying, but we got some goals to hit. So that's the update on me.
That's so awesome, man. Congratulations on that. Sweet. Hey, thanks guys for catching us up on what you're up to. It's always better than just doing a bio. It's just better when you guys get to tell us what it is, because you guys can, say the words much better than we could here on the show. But all right, guys, let's jump in. I wanted to for sure ask, because we have a panel of number 1 first years, kind of about that summer that you guys went out to the bookfield and you became the number 1 first year, and just had some thoughts and some insights on maybe, because we do have people who are listening to this actually probably where they're selling and some of them are first years, and so maybe they'll catch this up and go, oh, this is what I need right in the July week, week 6 or 7 to turn my summer around. The first question, and really in any particular order, if you guys are all quiet, I'll just pick somebody, but the first thing I wanted to know is, were all of you specifically gunning for the number 1 spot, or was that something that kind of just came about? What was that summer like from the standpoint of where you started and actually being number 1, like the vision and the planning of it?
I'll say the first time I thought about finishing number 1 was at checkout. I set finishing number 1 as a goal at checkout. when I learned that the person I thought was going to be number one delivered like 70%. But my goal was number 2 for a while. That's what I was shooting for.
No way.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. That's a cool surprise.
She delivered like 70%. I was at a bar. I remember Sheridan McDonald telling me at this bar, somewhat in a daze, hey, you might finish number 1. It's like, nah, that's not possible. And it's like, oh, it's possible. So that was the moment I thought about being number 1.
And when you were going on that, you said you were shooting for number 2, but so did you get off to a hot start, or was it were you one of those like late bloomers that just kind of really figured it out at the end?
Slow start, but then slow and steady from there. Yeah, I think I was one of the worst in my org the first couple weeks, but then from like week 3 on, it was just consistent.
What was your best week?
What about you guys? Maybe like 650. Nothing too crazy.
Hey, that's PC, baby.
Did you hit it twice?
I think so. Yeah, I think I did hit it twice there.
Pretty consistent.
It's just like it was like 500, 500, 500, 500 just regularly. Yeah.
You broke that magic 5,000 unit number your first summer, right?
Yeah. What about you? What was your biggest week your first summer?
My first, and this actually, we'll probably get into this as far as from the story of 4th of July. It was the week after 4th of July. And 724 was my best week, my first summer. So a pretty good week, but I was definitely not consistent for me. It was big weeks followed by big drop-offs, followed by big weeks. It was kind of a roller coaster, but up and down, and hit PC. I think it was twice. So it was in President's Club, but one that was like 650 or something like that, and then the 724 week. But definitely some ups and downs in there.
And I just remember I did only hit it once because I didn't qualify for PC dinner from my selling, which is kind of funny.
Wow. I didn't know that. Brandon, did you know you wanted to be number 1 from the beginning? Like, I know you're pretty competitive, so I'm imagining if you heard about this early enough, you might have been like, I'm doing that.
100%. That was the goal. It was freshman year at UNI, and I was one of the earlier recruits. I had the advantage, although it was second semester. So for me, they came to a big lecture, my psychology class, passing out questionnaires, and I went through the interview process with my manager, Grayson Jones. I owe a lot of credit to him. That super hard worker, very very by the book, and so he helped me. Lay the foundation for, being able to have a certain amount of success. But when we were going through it, it was like, where do you see yourself here? Can you see yourself in the top half and, top 10 or, kind of working through it? And I'm like, my goal would be number 1. Why not? It was the high goal, obviously. And we did the, high, medium and low goal, but my high goal was to be number 1. And that's really from the beginning, sort of where I had my mind made up that was what, I didn't see any reason not to.
Damn, that's pretty sweet. Kyle, how about you? What about? You came from Pedro's group, so I imagine that there was some talk about reaching for the stars. Knowing Pedro anyway.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, Andrews. Working for Pedro, you weren't going for number 2. I didn't probably start out going for number 1. My intro to Southwestern was actually, I remember. In fact, I'm in my office. I don't know if it's good to pick up, but those brown books. The handbook books, my mom bought those when I was a kid, probably 5, 6. So I remember that. And then my roommate at A&M, Reed Joseph, he sold a summer. Yeah. He was actually number 2 to Hannah, who I think we were going to have on. So he sold more books than I did, but he happened to be number 2 because of Hannah.
It's all relative.
That was crazy. That was my first summer, and I did not finish number 1. Obviously, Hannah crushed everyone at the end there, but that was the thing where there was like 4 or 5 of us: Katie Grossi, Meredith Gardner, Reed, and then Hannah. We're all like, we were trading spots in the pace setter, and he was so consistent, like he was so steady, and we were thinking, man, he's gonna win. And then Hannah just, I don't know what she did at the end of the summer, but she crushed everyone. It was crazy.
I got to follow Hannah my second summer, which was an awesome experience. I was kind of, I think you said late bloomer, slow. I remember driving to sales school, and I certainly was in college, a bit of a procrastinator. Although Rory wrote a book, Procrastinate on Purpose, which I loved. But I had not learned my sales talk, and I will never forget having a kind of panic attack. It was at a dumpy hotel on the way to Nashville, And I knew just the intro. The 8 pages of sales talk, I had no clue. So I had a lot of preparation to do with sales school. And then started out, I was in, so this is 4th of July themed. I took the flag off the front of my house, stuck it up there.
Nice.
Didn't have a shirt, but I was in
how you have your room decorated?
Virginia, America's historic triangle. So Williamsburg, Yorktown, and Jamestown. And I got moved my turf. I had to be moved 2 weeks in. Anyway, it took me a long time. And then to get started, it was a slow roll. So I probably didn't have my sights set on number one necessarily. One funny thing was there was a guy, Jimmy Hewitt. We were swapped. If I remember correctly, he was actually in Boerne, Texas, and I was in his either hometown or where he went to school in Williamsburg. So we had switched, ironically.
That's awesome.
Midway through the summer, and he was one of the people. There was a handful of folks, Taylor and others, that I was watching and hoping to beat in the end. But yeah, there were a lot of motivating factors. Pedro, several other people who will come up later. But I guess as time progressed, that became an ambition.
That's sweet. That's pretty cool. And for you guys, that first summer, do you guys, I mean, I know Brandon for sure is super competitive, but do you think it was the competition that was driving you? Was it some other like more personal goal as far as like, I'm doing it for my dad or something like that? Or what was kind of like the driving force behind wanting to be number one? Was it just straight competition, or was there something else? Kyle.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
go.
we always do this talking over each other, then we're all quiet.
Yeah.
I'll just pick from now on.
I'd say, a little bit of all the above. I remember, so my first summer, I interned with our church. Second summer, I worked for a company, Sewell Automotive. And I remember talking to my roommate, Reed, about his summer. I was still gaining understanding of what Southwestern was and connecting people that I looked up to that did Southwestern. It was becoming legit. I thought he was crazy for doing it. And then his second summer was my first when I actually came out. But all that to say, no. Original question was,
yeah. Well, like what was like the main driving force besides, is it just like straight, like I need to beat everybody, or like, were you doing it for yourself to come out of your shell? Maybe you were super introverted and you didn't want it, or what? I don't know. For me, it was, I wanted to do something hard. I failed. For you, what was it?
Yeah. Okay. So that was part of it. It was, I think it was competition more inwardly than even beating the other folks. It was kind of a hard year. I specifically wanted my first 2 summers to be at home and to do things in and around Boerne, San Antonio area. And then that junior year, I was at A&M and I wanted to go out and do something. So it was kind of like a really breaking out and doing something that was work related first. Had some hard things personally, family wise. I think that motivated me as well. There were some sad family aspects that were going on. So I think there was a little bit of that. And then crazy enough, my sister got married before I drove to Nashville my first summer. And my now wife, Caroline, and I, so we danced at my sister's wedding. We were family friends. So to make a long story short, and we danced. She sent me a text message about praying for my summer because we had talked about that. And so that was a motivator. And y'all know, going out, doing this job, and then also meeting moms and families throughout the summer, it made me think a lot about the future, probably more than I ever had. And
the goggles.
Yeah.
The answer is we all wanted to sell a lot to try to impress a woman, right?
Yeah. And that was definitely one of the main motivating factors for me. So
that's sweet. Thanks for sharing that. That's what I think we've had a lot of 130 some odd episodes, and I think that was one of the first few, maybe the only one that's ever actually openly said I did it to impress a girl. But I think we all had something like that inside, like Shane mentioned. I think we all somewhere in there had it. Shane, what about you? What drove you? Like, just, I mean, I know you're competitive in a lot of aspects as well, but is there anything else inside that really pulled you?
I mean, my story is just such an atypical story. Just how it adapted of, I went from being viewed as like a red flag, like they might not take me out because they didn't know how committed I was, to again, then doing really well. But yeah, it changed. Like at sales school, I kind of like fully internalized the idea of Sizzler and going into an all-inclusive restaurant. And if you couldn't decide between the steak and the lobster, asking for both and then walking out without paying. Like I vividly remember when that clicked in my head of like, oh, I want that. And then getting out there is, a little external, competition, a little bit internal. You just see other people hustling, and at sales school, you see people winning these little contests and just crushing you. And I think to myself, hey, if they can work that hard, why can't I? And so you just see someone else do something, and you see, hey, if they can do it, why can't I? And just knowing that I could always give a little bit more. And my manager, Matt Atchison, who hopefully was, wish he was joining us here right now, but he basically just got this idea in my head of, I'm giving up my summer no matter what. Like, no matter what, I'm not going to have the fun that I have back home. I'm not going to have that college summer experience. I'm giving all that up. And that's, when you're a 19-year-old kid, that's a big thing to give up. And so I figured I'd just make my time as worth it as possible. And squeeze as much as I could out of it.
And you did, my friend. You did. Way to go, sir. That's a sweet answer. Q, how about you, Ben? What drove you? I mean, I know you need to win. Like,
oh my God, you crushed me in that Spartan race. Like, it's just, he mentioned earlier, we did a Spartan race earlier, just for all the viewers, just so you know, he probably beat me by an hour. Like oh God, so painful.
Brutal.
It was about an hour. I know exactly how much time that it was. And
of course you do. I have no idea what my time was.
I had to look up all the time slots. I looked at, what everybody came in at, and more so to see all right, if I do another one, what time do I got to get to be in the place? But I mean, you guys, Will and Jake and Andrew and the crew, all of you guys, I mean, motivated me a ton to
Andy,
work really hard for that Spartan race. And that's what, I mean, I think it is sort of that same mentality. If you're going to do it really well. But mine, like why or reason why I did it didn't have anything to do with the competition. For me, the competition comes in once you're out there. And, that's one of the things that Southwestern does such a great job of is being able to kind of dangle that carrot in front of you and have you work every single week for Mom's Week and Dad's Week and put the pace setters. And I can't believe it. I mean, we were at the company for Phil Zolke's wedding just a couple of weeks ago, and obviously it was good to see you there, Shane. But we went to the company for walking through for old time's sake and look at the wall of grades and see where all the students from the previous years finished. But I was like, I need to get my hands on a pace setter, and so that I went to the wherever they would print them, and I was like, give me a pace setter, and they were like, we don't have them anymore. They're all digital. And I don't know. I guess that's the sign of the times. But for me, it was like every morning I would stare at that pace setter and be like, oh, here's where I'm at. Here's who's ahead of me, or here's who's behind me. That's working to catch me. That was like the huge motivator, is knowing while I'm out there. It's like if I'm walking or down on my luck and not putting my all into it. It's like, well, they're out there working real hard, and that would motivate me. But that wasn't what the competitive side of things, that switch flipped on after getting out there. For me, I mean, it was definitely, like I mentioned, it was freshman year at UNI. Started just my second semester in college. So I was still, at that point, I guess would have been just 18 years old, and very sheltered, very introverted, very shy at that time. And, when they were talking about the, benefits, what sort of resonated with me was developing communication skills and having confidence. And so I put, those kind of things in there. I hated like the small talk chit chat that you do in any sort of business setting to start off any sort of interaction. It's like, well, I'm going to be forced outside of my comfort zone to do this at least 30 times every single day. I'm probably going to get better at that. And I know it's going to be, a necessary skill in whatever I go into. So that was, why I did it, was I need to develop myself as a person. And then when I get out there, then you really kind of forget all those things. It's like, I know I'm going to get that, but now it becomes this big competition in this game. I wasn't even so much motivated by what the check size was going to be, but it was purely just based off of, having the most customers and the most units and being in the circle on Sunday. like all of those things. They did such a good job that like was specific for me, that every single week, you know, it was like, you know, out of our group, and we had a really good group. That's another thing. I talk about Grayson Jones in that group from you and I. In 2009, from our campus, I think we had number 1, number 3, number 5, 9, and 10. I think we had five top 10 first years. And so it was really one of those kind of breaking belief barriers situations. And you know, if you didn't have a fantastic week, you were going to be left in the dust, because there was always people that were really killing it. And that sort of environment kind of feeds off itself. And so I was really grateful for the group that I was a part of. But yeah, competitive once you get out there, different reasons for originally signing up for that crazy internship.
Yeah, dude, you are awesome. That's a great answer, and I appreciate that, the fact that you are so competitive, because man, you drive people because of your competitiveness, and it's like a legit.
It's a double-edged sword, my man. It's a gift and a curse, and you know, it's like, unfortunately, the way I'm wired is it's like I'm competitive in everything, even if it's like I'm a terrible golfer. I play golf like twice a year, but I just expect I'm going to be really good at it when I go out there. Or if I'm playing a video game, I don't even own a video game console, but if I'm playing a video game, I'll break the controller. It does work against me, probably more often than not. But it helps out in certain situations, and certainly works against me frequently.
That's pretty legit. The question I had for you guys then, on that note, since you guys are so competitive, all three of y'all, or at least that was part of the deal, who was your number 2 then that year? Name them. I want the name of the number 2, because we all know it. Q.
Mine was Taylor Savoy. She went to LSU, and we were neck and neck. I remember it came down to like counting at the very end. Back in Nashville, it was really close, and it was towards the end of the summer. It was like you were talking about, watching pace setter, just seeing where we stacked up based on what we reported, and then how we delivered, and it was close. That was my number 2.
Your delivery week must have been wild. It's like just trying to make it happen.
Yes.
Yeah, mine was Steph.
Yours was who?
Yeah. Steph Smith. So
you and I, grad, representing Northern Iowa. We were
similar though.
And yeah, that was a pretty competitive battle too, going back and forth. You guys had a
we were both consistent, but neither one of us had thought about finishing number 1, because again, there was this one girl, Melissa Villanueva, who was like 2,000 units ahead of us. So it seemed unattainable. And we didn't know anything about like the concept of, you know, delivery percentage or how that works. So, you know, I don't think either of us thought about finishing number 1. And we were just both really consistent, kind of slowly moving up the rankings. And I think maybe I passed her right at the end. But that was close. We finished like within like 100 units or so. It was really close.
That's wild. That's so cool. Steph, love Steph. And I know Taylor too. Shout out to Taylor and Steph. Sweet. Q, how about you? Who's your
I'm trying to remember her last name. So I believe she was a red line. It was Megan Dixon. I can't remember her last name. But I still do have the old superstar book there, and you know, I could certainly pick her out of a lineup, but I don't remember her last name exactly. So if she does tune in, I apologize that I'm not giving you credit.
That's all right. All right. Well, a toast to number 2s. To number 2, y'all.
Jeez.
And now we can talk about some 4th of July stories, or you know, something dealing with 4th of July. All right. Question number 1 about 4th of July. We'll start with Shane, since we're losing here shortly. What was the best meal that you were given on 4th of July, on a 4th of July? Because you know, everybody knows while you think about it. I'll fill people in who are listening who maybe didn't sell books or who were super off schedule do not know this. But if you were working on the 4th of July, which you should have been, it's a nice day because everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's feeling happy, and you're going, well, most people, you're going around, and oftentimes people are getting more drunk and drunk as the day progresses, and they will give you food without you even asking. They're like, you want a burger? What are you doing working on the 4th? And you're like, I'm free to work today. And then, you know, they would give you some food or whatever it was. What was the best meal you got, Mr. Hertig?
Man, I mean, I know I definitely got a couple burgers, a couple hot dogs. Like, I know I also had a 4th of July or two where I didn't eat anything, and I was like, what the heck? I'm not thinking of a specific 4th of July meal. Like, I know there had to have been some like delicious plates people made, but I'm just thinking the meal that came to mind for me was just this one steak dinner. This like grandpa raising a couple of his kids. The actual dad technically lived there, but every year he'd go to prison for 4 months during the winter for not paying child support. And he would literally time. This is such a fascinating experience that you can only have on the book field. This guy would time. He would time getting arrested every single year so that he would go to prison during the winter when it was, miserable out in, upstate New York or Pennsylvania or wherever we were. And he was just like, yeah, I'm not giving her any money. I don't care. I'll go to jail. But anyways, that's the dad. The grandpa is the one that buys the books and takes care of the whole family. And really nice kid, really nice family. The whole family was great. Even the dad going to jail was a nice guy. Just weird priorities. This is the best, one of the best steaks I've ever had. Steaks, couple sides, maybe some corn on the cob, sat down for a whole dinner. They were a repeat customer, had bought books 20, 30 years before. Just great people.
Well, apparently that dad didn't use the books because he ended up in jail. Happy birthday, America. Nice. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Hey,
Mr. Kelly?
He actually thought it was a great setup. He's like, the food's not bad. It's warm in there. Like, I got friends in there. And then he'd get out. When he gets out, it's nice out. It's summertime. He's just enjoying life. He was a happy man.
Maybe he's living in the future. He knows something we don't, clearly.
Some kind of Looper situation. I don't know.
Mr. Kelly, how about you?
I'm trying to remember 4th of July.
I guess the most memorable.
Recollection, I'd tell you the best meal I had on the book field was one of my first really good customers, the Murray family. In the beginning, I mentioned slow start. I was getting my teeth kicked in. And then there was that family that bought every year at least something. I think they got, we called it core four, and then the college entrance stuff, because they didn't have that, but they had other books. Anyway, bought stuff, first real customer, and then they invited me to just sit down dinner with them during deliveries I didn't have time for. But they were the just greatest family ever. 4th of July, I agree. I feel like I got a ton of burgers, and would go, if I would hear people would go to the backyard. That really was kind of a belief barrier. I remember being coached on jamming to very patriotic music and just owning the fact it's 4th of July, you're working, very American, and going for it. And I cannot remember a bad interaction on the 4th of July. It was always positive. Food was flowing. Whether it was 4th of July or not, I remember we were taught to, if you wanted something to eat or drink, you would ask Mr. or Miss Jones, if I could buy a granola bar or buy some food, because if they would make you buy it, they would then give you something. So, but anyway, good memories.
Man, I'm glad you shared that, because that's what I was going to mention. My first summer, I never packed a lunch, and I would not recommend this to anybody who's going out there now, because I did get a little bit of a reputation and found out that worked against me. Every day it was oh man, Miss Jones, I forgot to pack a lunch today. Do you have maybe an apple or a granola bar that you could spare? And as a first year, I didn't even offer to pay. And in hindsight, I wish I wouldn't have done that. But low expenses, right? Thanks, Grand Greeter. Low expenses. And so I would just like basically all day, every day. I was just like, and again, I'd be like, I'd see like, they've got like some fresh cookies they pulled out of the oven. It's like, I know on the way out, I'm going to get some of those. So I probably abused that a little bit too much, but I was down in Louisiana, man, always in the South. 8 summers, 7 in Louisiana, 1 in Texas. I ate some real good jambalaya, crawfish etouffee, the crawfish boils that, you got the potatoes in there and you got the corn and just all of that amazing food. The best meal that I had was certainly not on 4th of July. It was the meal that kept on giving. My 4th summer, let's see, this was week 2. On Saturday, I ran into this dad that said, come back tonight. I did the set up the 9:30 appointment. He said, my wife will be here. My daughter, who is a junior, I believe she was going into junior year, He said that, the whole family will be here. We'll sit down, we'll take a look at him. So come back at 9:30. You know where the story goes as far as they buy the whole thing. But he loads me up with a basket of all these different soups and every clam chowder and every different like type of soup, this whole basket that he loads me up with. And he says, when you deliver them, bring back all the jars, the mason jars in the basket. So I've got like food all throughout the summer that I eat. Like on Saturday nights, I'll cook it. When I go back to deliver, they tack on basically everything, and they just love the program. They're like, how do we get involved with this? And I'm like, well, you could maybe be a host family at some point. This is my 4th summer doing this. I will probably be back next summer. And so he ends up, we stay in touch. 2 summers later, I end up living with him. His name is Houston Weingert, and I still stay in touch with him. I talked to him a month ago. Andres, Houston.
I know Houston.
So he was a host dad. And like he's awesome. I still have I still stay in touch with him on a regular basis. And when I lived with him, they would cook every single night for us. We would get home to like bacon wrapped asparagus, bread pudding every single night. They just loaded us up. And he would get up in the morning with us and play loud music that we would dance to. We had our same routine. He would send us off. Best host family ever. Saturday nights we'd have cigar Saturdays and just smoke cigars out on the patio. Coolest host family, and we ate good in the Weingert household.
That's pretty legit. That's not bad.
Insane.
That's not bad at all. Now, when it comes to 4th of July, you always have to stop at the end of the day to check out some fireworks on your way home, right? I mean, at least I hope you guys all did that. Do you guys have a memorable one where you're just like, man, this is a beautiful scene, this is amazing, I can remember this maybe vividly, or I don't know, maybe like an emotional one? I cried during one of them, but that's just me. But let's start back up again with Brandon like nodded his head immediately.
Most memorable one for me was the first one, and it was not a good day. And I think that, it's interesting, your guys' perspective. It seems like you guys all had great 4th of Julys. It wasn't always that way for me. In some of my later summers, I had some good 4th of Julys, but my first summer, it was on Saturday. I believe 2009, the 4th actually was Saturday, if I remember correctly. And like that night, I didn't have a great day. I think I had maybe 50 units, which, for me, that was, didn't feel like a very, very good day. And I was like, I just imagined everybody else out there just having Mort days, just killing it. Mort day, you got to put at the bottom what that is, right?
160 units.
So I didn't have a very good day. And so I was just dejected. There we go. Steak day.
Clicked the wrong one. Sorry.
So I went, and as I finally got done, I was on a bike. I had car trouble, so I was on a bike and just parked my bike at a baseball field, sat in the dugout and watched some fireworks. I didn't cry, but it was definitely like very disappointed in myself. Used that motivation to then that next week had that 724 unit week, the week after 4th of July. But it was not what I would have hoped for in a fireworks show.
Damn. Shane Hertig, give us your most memorable fireworks.
Well, first, let me clarify. So the people in the book field that may or may not be listening to this, will they listen to this before the 4th or after the 4th? Hopefully not.
This is gonna air on Sunday, but most people will pick it up on Monday morning.
No, I'm just kidding. Most memorable 4th. So my first summer, my 4th of July was actually on a Sunday. So I got kind of lucky, but also it ended up kind of what Brandon shared. I was terrified of the 4th as a B manager because I was supposed to have it all together and be the example and had a team out there, and I'd never done a 4th. And so I was trying to project this confidence and was inside just absolutely terrified. But don't remember any details other than how scared I was. The best was, so that first oh gosh, I could go a few different directions here, but this memorable 4th of July experience. The first was amazing. We celebrated in Philadelphia on the 4th of July. So we had everyone that was at that meeting, all people that, most of those people stayed very good friends of mine through college, and we just had a great time. We're all dressed up ridiculously. running around kind of Independence Park there, saw Liberty Bell, and it just felt so special. And that was really one of those special, like, that's one of those moments for me that out there on the book field, it was like, wow, I'm just a college kid from Nebraska. I'm here, in the original nation's capital on the 4th of July, where it was signed. And it was a really cool experience, and probably helped me that summer just for, I don't know, being one of those moments that was, a moment that in the moment I was like, hey, I'll remember this forever. And it was really cool.
That's cool. That's cool. Mr. Kelly?
Hearing Shane, I was remembering my first summer when we got moved into our HQ, me and roommates, we took a trip. I think it was 3-4 hours up to DC. I think it was on a Sunday. We happened to be all settled. It was just a blitz down and back. And that wasn't actually on the 4th, but I shared my first summer, lived in Norfolk. It was, number one, it was a very military heavy area. There's, I think, one of the biggest Air Force naval bases, huge. So I was constantly meeting military families and people who were currently serving. So that, I think, really affected it. It was a big part of my summer. I met a lot of Aggies that way. I was in the Corps at A&M. I did not serve in the military, but that was a neat aspect of that turf. And then of the 4th of July was all the military folks and people who were serving. And then just being in that area, I mean, we all know Jamestown, but then Yorktown, where, Revolutionary War battles were fought and won. I had a long drive from, I think on the 4th, I was actually in Williamsburg area, which is very close to Jamestown. And then was driving back on this pebbly road. The sun had set, and there were fireworks everywhere. It felt like it was just a massive display. And it was, I don't think I got emotional, but it was extremely moving. I mean, you know how you get, you're analyzing life and everything you think and feel so deeply. But it was a cool experience.
That's pretty
those
legit.
moments are so great. It's like the drive home. It's nighttime. You made a couple sales. It doesn't matter how good your day was on the 4th. It's just the fact that you worked it. Of course, it wasn't a 0 day. You sold something. You got some food. Those moments were surreal. Just seeing the fireworks over the horizon, 10 at night.
Do you guys mind if I share mine? I know I'm not part of the panel.
Oh, please do. Yeah.
Just reminded me.
I could just hear you guys tell 4th of July stories all night.
Which is kind of the good thing about this podcast. So my favorite one, I remember my first summer. My first summer was shit. Actually, my July 4th was shit. I got one sale for 34 units at like 8:30 p.m. Some lady gave me a burger, and it was like not a good day. I got yelled at actually all day. But my second summer was great. I kind of overcame the fear of it, and I told myself that this is actually the first day I ever got off schedule. But I told myself I was in Massachusetts, in Boston, and the reason I made myself that deal was if I hit stake, or if I did well, like if I felt good with my effort, like I really pushed it, then I was gonna really give myself some time, because it gets dark earlier in Massachusetts for some reason, and I was near Boston, which is another big historical revolutionary city. But the reason why I did this was because 2013 was the first 4th of July I ever experienced as a U.S. citizen. I had actually become a U.S. citizen the November before that. My first summer I was actually still Colombian. I was still a resident of the United States. And so after that first summer, I became a citizen in November of that 2012 year. So that next year was the very first time I got to celebrate like the Independence Day of my new nation. And I remember I worked really hard. I don't remember if I hit stake or not, to be honest with you guys. I just remember it was a great day. I remember the feeling of it. It was just I was proud of my day. And it gets so dark early, even in July in Massachusetts. So it was like 8:30 and it was already dark and fireworks were already going. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need to knock anymore. Like, I'm just going to go find a really cool field somewhere near, in the outskirts of Boston and just like go watch some fireworks. And I showed up, and there were some families that I had sold to that were at this park who just all went. It was like this park where people go to watch, and it was a small town, and they were like, hey, "What's up, Andres? How's it going?" And they like said hi to me like they were friends. You know how when you run into them at the grocery store sometimes, some of your customers, if you ever had that happen, where like you run into them like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And you realize they realize you're just also a person. It was like that feeling with them, and they had like some snacks and stuff on the blanket, and it was I let myself off the hook to just stop working early and just enjoy my first 4th of July as a U.S. citizen. So that was my favorite one. It's fireworks were going everywhere, and Massachusetts people take 4th of July pretty seriously, and so that was a good time for sure. So thanks for letting me share. I know it's about you guys, but I was like, oh, this is a fun.
Thanks for sharing.
Fun topic. It's a fun topic. All right, next question about 4th of July. In general was, did you guys ever like, and if you did, please share, and if you didn't, sorry if it's a short answer, but did you guys ever like go all out with like the capes? Some people were like the capes or the 4th of July gear, or like did you guys ever get silly with that? And if so, what'd you guys do? And if you didn't, why not? Cool cards. Let's go with Q this time.
You said dressing up 4th of July?
Yeah, I know some people totally did that for like Will Metscher. I know I believe he did something like that.
I always went pretty straight laced. I always had the polo buttoned up, and in fact, I always had my Saturday polos, same ones, kind of like the Tiger Woods, wear the different colors, and so I wore the same polos, So I have a Saturday polo that I still have at home. I'm going to frame it someday. I think it should go in the Southwestern Hall of Fame of I could calculate the number of books sold while wearing that polo. So I didn't deviate at all from that. But what I did do was I had one of those little red, white, and blue little pinwheel things that I would stick out the window that would like blow as I was driving, and then I'd maybe like be waving that when I'd like run up to houses. But I was stick in the mud, not going all out. So that's why I did. And I was regimented, had the routine that I had to stick to, and it's almost like superstition. Saturdays. This is the Saturday polo that I wear. So I didn't deviate.
Unbelievable. Kyle, how about you?
So, Brandon, exact same. I wore I've worn a uniform my whole life. So private school, and then I was in the Court A&M. I was used to the same thing. And so I wore a blue polo, khakis, tennis shoes, lanyard with tag, and an A&M hat because that was part of the approach. And I did not change that up for 4th of July. I kept doing the exact same thing. Should have. Took it really seriously, and I wore the same thing. I didn't even have a Saturday polo. I mean, it was like I had 2 blue polos, and I would wash one, wear one, and that was the summer. Awesome. I couldn't wait to wear something else.
Brutal.
Well, I had more fun than you guys for sure. I think I just, a blue polo, some red shorts, put on some kind of America hat, couple, red, white, blue beads around my neck. Yeah, I'd have some fun with it for sure. And that was always a great day for asking clients for pictures and having them posted on Facebook. When we kind of got into that, later summers. And so, I always tried to have a lot of fun with that. And I'd tell the same joke to every single person. What was the most popular dance in 1776? The Independence.
There you go.
Every person always got the same response. Very cringe. I was not threatening at all.
Maybe after a few, you think maybe it's time to mix it up, have a little more fun with your jokes.
I had a lot of fun with that one because the dance move's different every time.
Oh, so it was just you had a variety on there. That's epic. That's epic. On that, did you guys ever have a favorite dad joke that you would leave people with at the door besides the Independence? I mean, not that wasn't good. It was great, Shane.
You can only tell it one day of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
Really, it should be 0 days during the year when you tell that joke.
Although, I mean, imagine just saying that in July. Like, the context is so important to that joke. You're like saying that in May or something. You're like, so May 30th. What was brutal? Brutal.
See, it didn't
Favorite dad-
land. It's June 29th. That joke didn't land. Anyone that listens to this on the 4th of July, that will land.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So we probably should just air this every 4th of July and that's it. Like we just take it off the air. Once
It's
it's
Dan Sales kind of CD that you get to play only on the 4th of July. You get to listen to this while you're driving around during the day.
Yeah, none of that. What did one flag say to the other? Just wave. None of that shit. It's all about the independence. That's 4th of July joke.
Yep.
Now that second joke, I'm a fan of the second joke.
Nah.
I'm a fan of the second joke. Did you? Okay, the other two of you, did you guys have a favorite dad joke in general that you like to say? Come on, we all had a couple in our arsenal. What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear, y'all. We all know this. This is like the dads that were mowing the yard and you wanted them not to call the cops on you. So you got to drop. I swear, I'm not stealing kids.
Goodness, I've got to brush up on my dad jokes. It kind of went with the apparel thing. I kept it pretty straight laced. I like what Brandon used. I didn't have jokes from Miss Jones, but my dad times 3 here in 2 weeks. I need to get some dad jokes. I've got time.
Yeah,
Hey,
dude,
Barr,
come
Dad,
on.
You need some dad jokes, man.
You need to call Nick Taverdi. Nick Taverdi has no shortage of
Give
dad
your
jokes.
daughters the full dad experience.
Yeah, what are you doing? If you better be wearing a fanny pack right now, I swear, and some white New Balance shoes with the socks pulled up too high. Cute, Mr. Comedian, Mr. Mortician. You got to have a good dad joke. For
You know,
us.
I honestly didn't do a lot of dad jokes, but just being humorous and having fun with families was big. And I don't know. This wasn't a joke that I told people on the book field, but I did like this. This is one of my favorite jokes that I think I like it more than anybody else does when I tell the joke. But when I'm talking about my book experience to other people who have also experienced, I say it's really, really awkward when you see the little kid naked, because we've all seen the little kid naked. So it's really awkward when you see a little kid naked on the book field. It's even more awkward when a little kid sees you naked on the book field. And
Yeah.
when I wrote that joke, I thought that was the funniest thing, and I still think it's the funniest thing. And I don't care what you guys think, but hopefully you like it. I need validation.
It's good. It's a great joke. You know what?
Thank you. I need that.
It's good. It's the scenario in which that would have to happen.
That's what someone was like.
You know it's happened, right? That's what makes it great. Like you know it's happened.
Is the joke?
Yeah. Oh, never mind.
I agree.
I almost put someone on blast on accident there.
Story for another time. Story for
another time.
Full disclosure, no one has seen me naked on the book field.
Yeah, in case you get sued for something later. Your Honor, if you listen to the episode, I disclosed later on. All right, brother Shane. It's about time for you to hop off. Are you leaving us soon?
Yeah, so much fun. Thanks so much, Andres, for having me on here. Had a great time. Kyle, we're both in Texas. We gotta hang out sometime. I'll be in Dallas in a couple months. All right.
Yeah,
See you guys.
all the time.
Shane.
Let me know.
Shane, we love you. Number 1 from 2010. Out. You're the best,
All
brother.
right, see you guys. Thanks.
See you later. Bye. All right, guys. So for the rest of you guys, and I had a couple more fun, like more rapid fire questions, and then we can tell maybe some ponytails or your favorite stories or some of your favorite stories from in general from the book field. We can kind of leave the 4th of July theme, and then call it a day. What do you guys think of that?
Awesome.
Is that cool? I'm gonna do a quick shout out to some more of our friends here on the show. So if you guys need to go get water, go use a restroom or something, this would be an opportune time.
Like you haven't been in a house in hours and you're not going to go to the gas station. That's how I feel right now. I will be right back.
You go ahead. I'll take you off screen. Kyle, do you need to take a break too, or are you good to go?
I'm good. Yeah.
Cool. So while we wait for Brandon to come back, a couple quick shout outs. This is a shout out from Patrick Roach in Southwestern Real Estate. Here's some free money advice from him. You guys, if you know who Patrick Roach is, this is gold nuggets that you're getting for free. So if you're struggling year after year, this is his thoughts on retirement and putting money away. So he said, if you're struggling year after year to put much away into retirement, make ambitious goals. Ambitious is the key word here. Make ambitious goals to earn and put away all the money that you can into retirement in your first quarter of the year. When you motivate yourself and put yourself in position to earn all your retirement money in the first quarter, you'll find yourself avoiding a lot of complacency you may have had at one time. So that said, let's get you in touch with Pat so you can learn more about financial freedom and working with Southwestern Real Estate. These guys are crushing it. Fantastic culture out in that company. 99% drama free, baby. Whoop, whoop. Pat Roach is looking for people. They're working in 14 different states now, but they're willing to expand to other places for the right fit. And it could be a career opportunity of a lifetime for you guys. So make sure you check that out. Next up, I want to give you a quick shout out to Thought Leader. So these guys are in the business of helping people land TEDx talks. If you're motivated, you like high performance sales, and you're interested in a sales position that's earning about $200K a year for working 4 days of the week from anywhere with an internet connection, so pretty remote. It's a proven process to getting people to help them land their TEDx talks. So they're working with professionals, entrepreneurs, change makers to helping them get their message out by leveraging the world's largest stage. So they're looking to add 2 more Southwestern alumni sales advisors to join their fully remote team of 25 people. But if you're interested, send Dillon Barr. He's the head of sales and client experience over at Thought Leader. He's of course a book guy. You can shoot him an email. You can see his email on screen. That's db@thought-leader.com. One of the funniest book guys I ever have met. No offense, Brandon. Cardinal, a quick shout out from Quintin again. This one's on networking. So you guys are going to be, this one's a little bit about the mentality you have to have when you do your networking. Be very intentional about spending time with people that are where you want to be, and do the things that those people that you want to be around do. Make those people a part of your network and routine. When you're around mediocre people, you're able to convince yourself that your shit does not stink. So when you're surrounding yourself with studs, you're able to grow a lot faster and keep a growth mindset. When you're choosy about your time spent, you're way better off. That's phenomenal advice, for anything that you're doing in life, really, whether it's at church, at home, at work, in marriage, whatever. So thanks, Cardinal Senior Benefits. You guys are awesome. For more details on their job opportunity, you guys can click on the link below. We'll talk a little bit about that more towards the end as well, before the ponytails. So, okay, guys, had a couple of quick, maybe not necessarily rapid fire questions, but like thoughts on your experience, and this could be your experience as a whole in general in Southwestern. This could be specific to your number 1 year. We definitely want to take advantage of the fact that we have 2 number 1 first years here for people who maybe are listening to this before they go out to the summer. Maybe they just got done with their first summer, didn't do as hot as they wanted to, and they're willing to go again. Or maybe they don't want to come back, and it's like, this is what you should have done as well. Looking back, I guess first question, and we'll go with Kyle if you want to go first. But when you look back now, so this has been almost 10 years since your first summer, and it's kind of wild, right? Brandon's been 12, 13 for you now, and you guys look back at who you were at 18. What advice would you give 18-year-old Kyle and Brandon respectively, knowing what you know now and where they were when they were first starting out? Let's go with Kyle first.
Oh my word. It's so fun. It being almost July, and I guess when this airs, July, and middle of the summer. I used to think about every summer that in the summers I would be out selling books, and I would compare and contrast my life then to life now. I mean, I traded so many things. One of the things I bought a Prius, a Toyota
Nice.
Prius. I typically drove an F-150, but obviously way more fuel efficient. That thing was an absolute bookmobile. I never turned the thing off. I just put it in park. It would sit there and purr. Every now and then it'd turn on to charge the battery. Thing was a machine, but I hated driving that car. And I hated a lot of things about the summer, but there were so many quotes and so many principles from, I wish I could name them all, people that are very influential in my life. I would not have accomplished some of the things have thus far, and without those people and without the experience. But it was the idea of giving up what I wanted in the moment for what ultimately wanted and looked forward to. I mentioned it was partly the motivation of yes, a girl, of my wife, and the thought of the future and a family. I mean, I dreamt of praise God, the things that are happening right now, and having kids and building a life. But the foundation of that was in the summer and doing the hard things and trading, purely fun internships. Although I think the bookfield was fun. I think it was an absolute privilege to get to go up to somebody's house, knock on their door, and either sit on the porch or hopefully go inside because it was cooler, and be in their home and get to know them and their kids. And it's an amazing social experiment. I'm not quite sure many other things like it, but it was great. I think it taught a lot about people, things in ways you want to be and live, and ways you don't, and anything in life of value. Just it seems to be the harder it is, the more worth it is, and so I can't think of many more difficult things to do with your summer. There is a lot of hard things to do, but none than that. And I have not for a second any given summer thinking about having done that 10 or so years ago regretted it. I'm very grateful for it. It's for lack of a better term, it's sacred to me. Really, mainly all of the people. I think of Mark Rao, Pedro Reed, many people who taught me and motivated me, and so it was well worth that experience and doing the things that were hard momentarily that I think have had an exponential impact to now.
Damn, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good answer.
Stuff, man. And I wholeheartedly agree with a majority of what you said. In the interest of a little bit saying something different, one thing that I wish that I would have done, I've heard some people do this, and in hindsight, I totally should have done this. This would be for me just a gold mine of memories. Is I wish I would have journaled every night about stories that you have like during the day, good, bad, how you were feeling. It would be so fun to be able to go back and look back on every single day, because I've got a pretty good memory and I remember certain stories very vividly, but I'm sure there are such interesting insights in the moment that 18-year-old Brandon in week 2, that's just like my state of mind to be able to have that sort of documented, that I could go look back on that right now. Because I guess the advice that, just like you said, Kyle, would be to appreciate it. There is like the simplicity of what the book field is. It's just you in your turf with your sample case, your ammo, your list of names that you've had, and just working through, and just like, you don't have to worry about all the drama, all the relationships, everything. It's just like, it's such a, like, you operate in a vacuum that it's just like, everybody's got the same challenge in front of them, and we're going out there for just this set period of time. And like, I really do like miss there's nowhere else where you can replicate. It's like the highest highs, but also the lowest lows, and the lowest lows really make you appreciate those highest highs that you experience. And like we talked about, driving home on the 4th of July, or just driving home after a day, your best day of your career where you just worked, you didn't get complacent at noon because you were already sitting on a steak day. You kept working, and just knowing that you gave it your all. And then some of those stories, the impact that you've made, cool people that you met, adversity that you overcame. It's just like that drive home at 10 o'clock after, a cold call at, 9 o'clock or later where they bought, and you're just driving home on cloud 9 with the windows down. Like, you just can't get that anywhere else. So, I mean, really appreciating it. And I wish that I would have documented every single day, just to have that as like flipping through it, kind of like my own scrolls. That would have been so cool to have 8 summers of every single day, a paragraph or more written down.
That, first of all, yes, I think a lot of us listening in on this are like, damn, yeah, me too. Same. That would be something, because you learn almost a lesson every day, almost a different thing. You're like, man, I found out today what I can't do. I found out how to be a good dad today. I found out how to be a bad dad today. I found out how to be a good husband. As men, right? The 3 of us here, but it's same for the ladies who sold. But it's also interesting to think back when you look back. There's, even within the world of Southwestern, you just mentioned like a specific type of feeling that I haven't felt since, and I haven't felt before, of like what you just described. Even people within Southwestern don't really have this if they never knocked super late. But that feeling of, you hit that house, they are not an appointment. They're not. And every other time before, you've knocked on some house at 9:30, it's pitch black, you're in the middle of nowhere, or it's in the neighborhood, whatever, and you're like, this could ruin me. Like I could, because the fear that people might listening who might not understand, who didn't experience this or who didn't sell books, you're sitting in a, there's this integrity in you that's committed to hitting your goals, and you're competitive, and you want to be the best person in that moment that you can be. And the right thing to do at that time is to knock on one more door. Why? Because you said you would. Really, it's not, there's no contract. Nobody's holding a gun to your head, but in your head that you're a man of your word, and that's what you said you would do. But you're, on the other hand, risking the idea that someone might call the cops on you. You might get kicked out of that turf. All you've been working for, as far as names, collecting customers, you could go down the drain pretty easily on an easy phone call. And then you knock, and they're awesome. And then it's that mom and that dad and those kids who are all with it. It's a cool family. And you're in your head, you're thinking, someday my kids, my wife, it'll be like this. And some kid's going to knock on my door, and we're going to be these people, because they give you hope, right? Of what you can become and what you can be later on when you're not 19. Right. And when we are now 10 years removed, where we are all now married, and ready to have kids, or already with kids. And so, but then you go home, the windows are down. I know what you're talking about. You turn the radio up, or you put that music on, because you know what? It's okay. You haven't listened to the radio all day. That feeling, dude, that you can't, where else have you felt that? Nowhere. It's just such a bliss. Like it's a moment of zen. Like you're like, this is what Steph Curry feels when he shoots a 3 and he nails it. You know what I mean? Like this right here is like, you're in some sort of level of greatness that even though it's not memorable, people won't remember you. People don't care, right? You tell your coworkers that, and they're like, cool. Like, but for you, I'm glad you mentioned that, Brandon. That's a really cool feeling. And I appreciate that you're sharing that. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Question for you guys next up. Thank you for answering that. That was awesome. Question for you guys I also had, is there a turf that you guys had? Wait, unless you guys had thoughts on that. Okay, cool. Is there a turf that you guys had that you guys loved the most? What was your favorite turf out of your summer selling that you're like, if I could do it all over again, I would do that town, that state. Go, Brandon.
Yeah, for sure. Do I have the ability to share my screen here?
I can. Just let me know what you need me to look up.
So go to Google
actually,
Maps.
Amy can too. I don't know if Google Maps.
Yeah, I actually have it pulled up here because I was reminiscing of these summers. Because so in Louisiana, they don't have counties, they have parishes. And I'm trying to remember, 90 parishes. I've sold since 7 summers, 25% of the state of Louisiana I have worked in. And so my favorite ones, my 4th summer where I had my best summer was just north of Alexandria. I worked in what they told me was the poorest parish. So if you go north of it up there, so yeah, you've got Ball, Pollock, Dry Prong there. So Dry Prong, that's where Houston Weinger lived. We're just north of Dry Prong. We could probably zoom in and find his house right now, but that area, I worked in LaSalle Parish. I knocked that thing out in like a week, and that was where I had my best week ever. Just everybody was buying. But maybe my favorite would be, if we go down, so now southeast of Alexandria, Marksville, Bunkie, Cottonport, Moroville, over to Simmsport, Plocheville. Plocheville might have been my favorite school district. What was like so cool about this area, so it's a Voiles parish, and like the public schools were not ideal. So basically everybody kind of sent their kids to private school, and I got in with all the private schools there, and it was like I would work like each private school separately. As far as like it'd be one private school one week, the next one you'd get to like that area, and super rural, lots of double wide trailers basically, and
baby,
everybody, double wide,
double wides, they're buying.
Yeah, certainly. And it was like everybody was related. I think it was the Lemoyne family. That was like everybody. And I had like a list of like 10 Lemoynes. All Lemoyne bought from me. And I think that one might have been, that wasn't St. Mary's, was that St. Joseph Catholic school there. So I had for St. Joe's, like everybody on the list, St. Joe's. So sold a lot of books in that school district and just had a ton of fun doing it. It was like nicely spread out, you know, that country, but not so far away where you're driving 20 minutes in between houses. Cottonport. Yeah, I think Cottonport, that was where St. Mary's was in there. And that was summer number 6. That was an awesome.
That's when you hit 10K, right? Your 10,000 unit summer.
At 10,000, that was summer number 4. So that was where we were up north of it. It was 9,000 in summer number 6. I came up short of the 10,000 number, but had a ton of fun. And running our org, we had the best org success. I think you and I was number 6 campus in the world. My 6th summer running the org as an OL. Such a good group there. So Clocheville, loved it.
Sweet, that's awesome. Like when you're in that flow, by the way, that's the next question. If you want to start thinking of is like, what did you do to get into your flow? But okay, cool. Mr. Kelly, what about you? Where was your favorite place to go?
Really hard. I remember him saying turf doesn't matter. Maybe it did.
Does matter. It matters. Yeah. Anybody, by the way, people listening,
you
some
said
bullshit. Listen, and we've talked about this on the show before. It only doesn't matter if you know how to work every kind of turf.
That is a good point.
But
it's so
if you
different.
don't know how to work rich neighborhoods, it matters. Sorry.
And is there any coincidence that everybody, when you say what's your favorite turf, it's always like not like super country, but like spread out subdivisions where you're not like the neighbor outside can hear you doing your approach, so it's super awkward when you walk over and say the exact same thing to them? Why is everybody's answer of their favorite turf always the exact same turf that they describe?
Yeah. It is hard, and they're also different. I mean, I started out, I probably more liked urban and city, and even big brick would be my favorite. And a lot of people wouldn't say that, but I started out in Richmond, Virginia, moved out to kind of the coastal area. And then my second summer was abbreviated. I had to be back at A&M. So it was a half summer, not by choice, but just had to be that way. And that was my trailer park summer. I was selling cookbooks to people with no teeth, and I mean, it was number of customers, not just size, which I was more used to from my first summer. And then I was back to that in my third. I was in an area called Edina, near Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Edina acronym was "Every Day I Need Attention." It was an extremely wealthy, nice area, big brick, and that was my last and final. And that was, if y'all remember the feeling of like in a number of weeks and maybe a few months, just becoming part of a community, you know, the schools, the teachers, the people, their pets. I mean, it's a really fun feeling to quickly get so integrated into a community. And that happened from a great family who sadly lost a daughter, and everyone knew about them, thought the world of them. I didn't realize why their name was so well known and worked until later. And I got to go back and do something for them at the end of the summer to all sorts of positive things with people. But one of the things I love to do, actually, I in 2019, I had to go back to Minneapolis for a company deal. And I drove back to some of my customers' house. If you go on your pictures, if you took pictures with customers, sometimes it'll map where those are. Yeah. And so I was able to really easily find, who they were, their houses. And anyway, it's surreal to kind of drive back through there. The other thing, sort of modern, we had the record of sales, and you could load that into Google Maps, and it would plot in little dots your customers. Wow. So you could click on an iPad and go deliver. That was so fun. I can't believe, Brandon, you did 25% of Louisiana. That is absolutely incredible. But that was always fun to like populate that Google map and to see all the little dots of customers, you know, people that you met around the summer. But hard to say, probably like big brick. However, I loved my Mississippi summer too. I was in Oxford, and there was a full gamut there. But we went to the A&M Ole Miss game this past season, and actually there's a customer that I had that one of my great friends' wives is close with. So I reconnected with a customer from however long ago. But anyway.
Pretty wild. I still have friends who are customers for my first summer on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
There was this guy, I've told the story before on the show, so I'll keep it brief, but long story short, I knocked on the house. Wife was home. They're older, no kids, grandkids. Her husband was just about to retire from the sheriff's department. And, I show up at their house. It's like 8:30. They're my last house. You're like, oh, this is going to be my last house. You already know. And he starts, when I do the wholesale talk, she's ready to buy. And he shows up walking the dog. I'm like, fuck. So then I had to do the whole thing. And he's like sketched out because I'm from Nebraska, right? Wellsville, New York. Long story short, they bought. I was there for a while. And then he searched me. He looked me up. And he found my parents. He sent them a card, like talking about their experience meeting me. I still have the picture of it on my Facebook, and I've shared it before on here. But yeah, and Kevin Monroe, shout out to you, brother. Love you lots. And he's they've since moved on, and he retired, and then they went down south. But yeah, it's funny how you keep in touch with people. You're like that. We met for 20. Well, I guess it was like 2 hours that day, but we met for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, because you were my last house, and I was gonna go knock in the dark after this. So, and I had to do 2 demos. So, but yeah, it's cool that you keep in touch, man. That's awesome. That's really legit. All right, Brandon, back to you. Question about flow, or actually, wait, do you have customers you still keep in touch with?
Well, I talked about Houston that obviously, sold to, then lived with.
Yeah,
I talked to him, he comes, takes vacations, drives up to Omaha, and he's a big supporter of, he's been to like my stand-up comedy shows and so he's the one that I'm closest with. I did for a little while stay in touch with a few different folks that helped out. There was actually a guy in Sanamaw, Louisiana, that so he worked for the sheriff department, and he sold books for Varsity in his hometown. So I was selling over him, and he told me, he said, anybody you run into, tell him that I sent you. And so I had his name, and then I had a whole bunch of people. Anytime I would see a police car, I just got super excited because his name was Quintin LeBlanc. And every time it'd be like with anybody with a cop, I'd just be like, Quintin LeBlanc sent me. And they'd be like, Quintin sent you, just every time. And so I had a separate list where it would be like cops lists. So it'd be like, these are all the cops that I bought. So then and that list was long. So then I would, anytime, I loved going to approach police officers. But it was my 5th summer. The reason I went and met him is because I had some bad PR that I'm like, I need to go try and nip this in the bud. Had a first year follow me, literally had people that were like pulling up beside me as I was like mapping out where I was going to go next. And people would pull up beside me and be like, you selling books? Get the hell out of here. We heard it's a scam. And I was like, I need to try and like figure this out. Because it was a big enough school, like parish. I was going to be there the whole summer. And so I went into the police department, and he saw the book, and he's like, you selling books? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And he's like, I sold books. He didn't sell with Southwestern, but it was Varsity. So he did a couple summers where he went like us off to a different part of the country. But then he had a summer where he just stayed at home and sold. So I was selling over him on his Varsity books. And so his name was on the list. His brother was his younger brother was the starting quarterback for the football team. So everybody obviously knew that name. And that they were super cool. So I did stay in touch with him for years after. It's been a few years since I've talked to him though, but there's definitely a few of those that you've got still got connections with. Some host families that had like younger daughters that have now like grown up and have families, and so that's kind of cool to still see them on like Instagram and Facebook when the few times that I get on there. So yeah, definitely some relationships that have stood the test of time.
On that note, and with Houston, we're thinking about at some point not anytime soon, but like probably sometime at this point this year to have a special episode with host families, like a panel of host
He'll
families.
entertain you for sure. Like picture like his personality is like a Todd Chrisley kind of personality, like very like
he's funny.
Speaks his mind. He's got all the jokes. He'll entertain you. He'd be a real good one to have on there. And I know that he would love it too, because he'll have all the stories and all his little clips and everything that he's got. So very entertaining guy. You would be it'd be beneficial to have him on the show.
Yeah, and if you guys are listening, by the way, keep an eye out on our Instagram. We'll usually drop a question or like a survey that you could like type an answer to. So when we'll post like what host families do we need to talk to, so that you guys can submit your favorite host family, and hopefully we can get them on the air if they be open to doing so. But Houston for sure. I've met Houston. he needs to be on here. So that'd be a lot of fun. Okay. No, I a couple quick. I know we're getting close to the time we need to jet, so we'll do this last question and then maybe your favorite or most memorable story. Brandon, if you can tell a different one than your first episode. By the way, if you guys want to check out Brandon's episode, at the time it was you guys can click on the link up here below. At the time it was the longest episode we had ever recorded at 3 hours. Now the record sits with Pedro Vega at 4 hours and 15 minutes. We've had a couple that have gone 4 hours, 2 or 3 of them now, I think. So, Brandon, if you can come back and try to talk some more shit for 5 hours, we can
I'm
do
gonna
it.
filibuster it. Yeah, well, I'll come
Yeah,
back.
just
And we'll,
just
we just will say we're not ending it. I don't care if we sit here silently and I'm just reading a book out loud. I'll just read all the scrolls.
that would be hilarious to do. That'd be so funny. But okay. So yeah, we got some time left here, some 15 minutes, 20 minutes left. But quick question on how do you guys, if whether today or back then, or how what you learned back then for today, however you guys want to answer this, of like how do you plug in to get into the flow of things? I know you guys are super successful, both of you, in what you're doing. Particularly, I spend more time with Brandon, so I know, kind of I've watched you work even outside of Southwestern investments, just even in your comedy and stuff. But how do you guys plug back in for people listening that maybe are like, okay, cool, I had a good day, I had a good week. How do I get back into that way of being? And what maybe is there a ritual that you guys do? Is there a self-talk that you guys use? What are some of the nuggets that you guys can share with us about getting in the flow, whether it was back then or now? Brandon, you can take the wheel.
So I do think I still do a pretty good job of. There's no specific self-talk, but constantly, positive affirmations, self-talk. I think that for me, I mean, when it came to back when I was corporate recruiting and doing advanced sales, getting into that flow state, or I called it Mario mode, was, like the star power when Mario's got,
yeah,
gets the star and nothing, he's just running through and that,
yeah,
like that was to me, that was that flow state. And recognizing when you're in it, and what was it? Pat Roach called it the hypro glow, like that, where you're there, where you're just on. And I felt like it was almost like random when you would get to it, but it would come by just focus, just tuning out everything and just working and just focusing in the moment. And I remember, different parts that I would teach and talking about, like, you have to recognize when you're in that state and don't let it go. It's kind of like when it comes to writing stand-up comedy. Andres, I know you experience that when it comes to like, I've got an idea. Like, it's almost like that state is like a faucet turns on where like the ideas are coming, or for whatever reason, you've got the perfect buying atmosphere that like people truly do. It's like, man, this guy doesn't give a shit whether or not we buy these books. I think I want them. And you just have like that, and you just like, you're just like moving to the next door. And what was it, Pat, in his, when he does like the balloon, the keynote speech, and what is he? I think when he's talking about it, did he have like 20 customers in a row? I feel like I remember him saying that it was like 20 people in a row, or he mentioned someone else in his org that had done that. I think my record was 8 prospects in a row I talked to bought. That was like, and it was a Saturday, my third summer, that ran into 8 prospects in a row that I ran into, all bought before one finally didn't. Just recognizing when you're in it and just, running and, going as hard as you can until you come back down to reality or your star power wears off. But I don't know that I've got any tricks or techniques in how to get in it. But I noticed that when it's like nothing else matters except the thing that I'm focused on, that's like how you get into it. Of just when I'm having a tough day with my job now or anything else, it's like just go to like work mode to tune out everything, focus, put on blinders, call in prospects, whatever it is that you're doing, just going, just working hard and tuning out everything else. And a lot of times that can lead to getting into that state. And then again, recognizing when you're in it and don't let it go until it wears off.
Ooh. Fire.
I was just in it right there. If you noticed, I had it for a little bit. Now I'm back. I'm back out of it.
Welcome back. Well, maybe you'll play that sound in the back. Actually, we don't own the license to that, so sorry. But
I know my saying it was certainly not close enough for you to run into copyright issues. So
I mean, it is what it is at this point. We just won't make any money from this episode. That's fine. Mr. Kelly, How about you? What do you got for us for flow state and achievement?
That's a great question. And I think there are so many tangibles and intangibles learned on the book field. I think like starting with just recognizing your mind and your flesh have just a tendency to waver. It's like Brandon was talking about, even with just lack of focus, or I mentioned earlier, but focusing on something much less significant, something momentary, pain, fear, whatever it might be, or just falsehood. Like it's incredible how often we just have a tendency to either think about, dwell on things that are not true about ourselves or about just reality. And so focusing on those, I think advice, from this summer that have carried into now is, to try and work out and then read something spiritual in the morning and pray, and then read something technical at night to learn, to stay sharp. I think, those things have been really helpful for flow. I love when Brandon was talking about, and I have this in my work, where you just live in this more carefree abundance mentality. You're not as worried, although we're all competitive, we're not as worried about your performance. You're more worried about the controllables and doing the things that you can do well repetitively, and focusing on whatever you believe to be your calling or your purpose or the ultimate reason why you're doing that. I mean, Andres, you talked about just the feeling, windows down, driving home from the book field. I think we all felt that sort of euphoria, because in that day we did what was hard. In the moment, we had a defined purpose. We spent time with people. I think really felt like we were helping with education, providing a tool, a resource, or books, something better than video games. And then just encouraging and getting to know good people. So as much as you can be focused and in that element as possible, and I think fulfilling all of our God-given purpose, that's gonna help out, tremendously with flow. Tangibly with my work, I've just noticed like there's an element of my work that is actual work and computer, and then there's with people, and I try and balance that every day, because there's benefit to both. But I generally enjoy time spent with clients or friends or others. And so I just, try and plan out and insert a lot of that into my day. I can think of even today, just I had breakfast and other meetings and calls, and, that's just what's beneficial. The best things about life is spending time with people, but very grateful, for just that mentality. I think that's ingrained, and, I think has really helped out.
Oof. Fire stuff, guys. Fire stuff. Pretty, very, very cool. Thank you for sharing. Wow. So cool. I'm like, that's good. Write that down, everybody. That last little bit there. Ooh, that's good. Write that down. All right, guys. Well, I mean, I think we're approaching here the ponytails, which is typically when we share like the one or two stories that are really, really impactful, maybe the best, the funniest, the craziest. Some people have told us sizzler stories. Some people told us like really wild, like stories. Brandon once told us about when he went to jail. It's a whole thing.
One.
It is such a good story.
Now we don't have time for that one, but yeah, maybe it's a great story. When come back another time, or you can go back and watch those.
You can give us the 2-hour version for the record. But while you guys think on that, think about which one is your favorite. Kyle, we'll probably start with you. And as you think about that, I'm going to give a quick shout out to a couple last few partners of ours, and then we can finish up with you guys sharing some of these fun stories. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, guys, if you go to our website, theponytailspodcast.com, you guys can check out our merch and sign up for our newsletter, by the way. That's coming out August 1st. It's going to be called The Colt, COLT. Everything here on the podcast is obviously horse related, and we thought it'd be hilarious to come out with The Colt as part of our newsletter, where you guys can get updates on the show, upcoming guests, and all that jazz, as well as you guys can keep track of your units on the Trot Setter, and that's YOUNITS, because you are your units. And so you guys can cheat every time you like, share, or comment. You'll get units. If you buy merch, you'll get units. If you sign up to be a paid fan, you'll get units. And so every month we'll release the Trot Setter to see how people are doing. If you are the number one of each month, there's perks. You win prizes. We'll send you stuff. If you are the number one in the year, obviously we'll give you, besides the awesome recognition on the show, you'll get a bunch of other perks as well. So you go check out for more information on that. Now, the reason I'm bringing all that up is because VDisain were the people that design our website, and these are all book guys from Estonia, actually. Thank you, Oscar and Oliver, who have been partners with us. But if you guys are wanting to learn more about how to get a website for your business specifically, you can get a pretty cheap one that just does some basic stuff. But if you want like a legit working, where you can get stores, where you can get integrations, where you can get funneling and email marketing stuff going on, these are the guys you're going to want to go talk to. They were hooking us up. Those kinds of websites, and they're costing multiple tens of thousands of dollars for as complicated as they can get. For us, they got it at a fraction of the price because they were from Estonia. So thank you guys for that. Check them out if you guys are in need of new web content or if you need to revamp your websites. Quick shout out to EnLight.Energy. Guys, if you we're working, EnLight.Energy is actually one of our oldest partners. If you guys have a passion for the planet, you guys want to make some good money and work with someone like Nick Taverdi or Julio Hernandez or Alex Black, you guys go to EnLight. You get an automatic interview with us if you reach out through here. A sale every other week is enough to earn a 6-figure income, which is pretty nice. That's Shane must have made some money today then. And they have the ability to work with people in every market in the US. Plus, you're not even selling anything additional. You're just helping people replace their electric bill. Obviously, Shane works for a different company, but it's totally cool that we're here. We have the abundance mentality on the show. And then last but not least, one more shout out to Cardinal Senior Benefits. They are looking for more people to join their team. So 2 months ago, they started sponsoring us. They now have recruited 4 people that came directly from the show to their roster. The main reason that people are joining, of course, is because they have a really solid foundation of their culture. So all the fun parts about Southwestern's culture, the camaraderie, hands-on training, the fun, but they remove all the bad parts like the cold calling, the 80 hours a week, the lack of flexibility. And so on top of that, you can make pretty good living without having to sacrifice a lot of time. So their top earners are making about 12 to 15K a week. And they're doing about working 31 to 34 hours. So of course, they're on a growth mindset. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more about how to work with them, reach out to us. There's also a link below you can click on and to refer yourself or somebody else. There's a $500 referral bonus if they get hired. So make sure to reach out. That is all for our partners. Now it's time for some ponytails. Thank you guys for listening. Isn't that cool? We have all of our sponsors are all alumni. We wanted to keep it in the family. We had companies reaching out like, hey, we want to get it because they saw their numbers and they could track some of that stuff. And they're like, Anchor has people on standby. And I'm like, no, we want to keep it in the family, baby. No, boom. Book people, baby. It's all about promoting that network. So hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of that. Okay, ponytails. Let's start with you, Kyle, and give us maybe the most memorable thing, the best story. The mic is yours, my friend. And once you are done, over to Q.
Okay, one story is hard, there's many, but I can remember, there's several that will relate to this, but we gave each other haircuts, and this was Mom's Week, my first summer, and I think, buzzed my hair, and then I relied on my roommate to shave my neck, and for some odd reason, he didn't go with the natural or given line. He went halfway up my head, and by the time I put my hat on, which I wore every day, my A&M hat, I was bald in the back, 18, 19 years old. That was fun. This wasn't me, but a friend, he actually had to go to the hospital because all that he was eating was peanut butter and jelly and then pizza. And then, maybe a granola bar thrown in there. And then a lot of that energy powder for drinks. But, okay, the biggest single story would be actually with Pedro Vega. He was following me, or not following, working with me, and it was in Mississippi. This was when I drove this Prius, and I was having an okay day. I actually sold to a mom. She was backing out of her driveway, got in her car, she bought. And so we're feeling good. And I had either an appointment or a reason to get back to a certain spot. When I GPSed it, it was on a dirt road. I pulled up a picture here for those viewing, but this is my white Prius, and we went down this dirt road. It had rained, and it just got increasingly worse. But, if you've driven off-road, you realize that if you stop, you're sunk, pun intended. So I couldn't stop. It just kind of continued, and it got rougher and rougher and muddier and muddier until finally we buried this Prius in the axle, and it was like front wheel, one wheel drive, and it was slinging mud everywhere. We're completely stuck. The day was shot probably from like 5 o'clock on. Had to get a tow truck to come in. I felt bad because the Pedro Vega was with me, and we were supposed to be working. But it was a great memory. We got some extra time there, had some great conversation. And it was a good time. I love that Prius. One other quick cool. This is more cool.
It's as many as you want. If they're rapid fire, go for it. It's as many as you want, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
no, I was thinking some cool doors I knocked on in Virginia. I knocked on Robert Gates's house. He was president of A&M, Secretary of Defense. I didn't knock. I rang his gate. So that was cool. And then I believe it was Eli Manning in Oxford. They weren't home, but I knocked on his door. And other good stuff. Oh, one last one. This was a big mistake. I doubt anyone else did this. I love selling books, but I was not as studious or good at my record keeping. And I loaded up on inventory and did deliveries, but I still had a bunch of extra books. Well, when I got back to Nashville, I turned all those books in, but I lost the receipt they gave to me accounting for the books that I'd given back to the company. So this was my first summer, and I was at this point number 1 or 2, had sold some books. And because I didn't have that receipt, they had charged me for those books. And so my check was like $3,000 or $4,000. It was extremely emotional. I mean, I had worked that whole summer, and initially we couldn't figure out why. I mean, it was supposed to be like 25 grand, and it was sub 5. I mean, I had a lot of books left over, I think, from me and other people. Anyway, we sorted that out, but I thought it was all lessons learned and not from a financial standpoint. But anyway, I've got a good
because we all know
figure that out.
The Bookman equation, which is books equals money.
Equals money. That's right.
Thanks Tabitha Taylor for her part, and that's in every sales school.
We stand up and scream it.
Yeah. By the way, she'll be on the show. We recorded her episode. She'll be on the show in July. She was our first honorary guest as a person who never actually sold a full summer. But how do you not have Tabitha Taylor on the show? You know what I'm saying? Her, Ralph Brigham, people like that, where it's just like, we got to have you on the show. So thanks for that part, Tabitha. Books equals money. That's why your check was so small. That's brutal. That's brutal, bro. Oh, bro, that's crazy. Oh, man. All right, Mr. Q, round us out. Tell us the last story, and then we'll wrap this one up, put a bow on it, take it to delivery school.
All right. Well, so I won't share the going to jail story, although that one is definitely my favorite summer or story. That's from summer number 2.
Actually, just so people know, we're doing shorts now where we take some chunks of like episodes that are so long. What we're going to do, I'm going to just go back, find that like last half hour chunk of that story, and then just set it as its separate episode so that way people, if you guys want to go check it out, we'll link to it at some point. If you're listening, if you're listening to this right on the 4th, it might not be up there yet, but at some point, probably in July, we'll have that linked below. So if you're listening to this in August, check out below. And there's also going to be Brandon's went to jail story. You can click on that link. It'll take you right to that. So that way people can go, what the hell is this? They can go find it. Or you can go listen to the full episode. It's whatever. It's like the third one ever.
A harrowing journey with adversity that was overcome and highs and lows. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll learn something from it. Tune in.
Friends became enemies. Enemies became friends.
Definitely that first summer. As I talked about, what that 4th of July was like for me. But I think that probably my first summer was probably the most adversity that I got to deal with, actually. And it was a little bit of a bummer that summers after that there was less adversity. It's like, oh, this was just a normal summer. But my first summer, I didn't have a car when I was recruited, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to be a walker. But they definitely, again, it was January, so I had the whole semester, and Grayson kept encouraging me. Well, you can definitely be successful without having a car, but it's probably helpful to get one. I was like, all right, I'll try and get one. And I had a little bit of money, broke college student, but my mom helped me out. So she matched me. We got like a $3,000, I think it was a 91 Chrysler Concorde, old big red boat that I had. And I don't remember how many miles it had. But basically, we went to the lot. We were like, we just need something that'll get me through the summer. That was the big thing. Well, it did not make it through the summer. And I think this was Friday night of week 5. And I know like my timelines here, it gets a little fuzzy, but it was Dad's week that it happened. And it was Friday night that the car broke down. And obviously I'm not going to turn on my phone and call. So it's like the answer to every problem lies behind the next door. So go to the next door. Unfortunately, the guy like has definitely a lot of like, I don't think he was a mechanic, but he had a lot of knowledge, and he was able to look under like, oh, it's your timing belt. And he pulled it out and like, here's what it is. And, here's what you got to do. And so I had to get that towed. I think they did buy, but that's not like the big part of the story. The thing was on that Saturday, I wasn't able to get it fixed immediately. So it's like, all right, I'm just hoofing. I didn't have a bike or anything. So my roommate, it was his second summer, and I had to work in town. So I didn't really have quite the names that connected, but he just dropped me off at like 7:30, and it was just a dead sprint. That I don't think I had to have an amazing Saturday. I think I had to get something like 60 units to hit Dad's week. But it was like I was just focused like that. I'm going to be running, sprinting from house to house. Did hit Dad's week, and but now the issue is like, all right, I got to get got to try and figure out how to get a car. And fortunately, because I don't remember what it would have cost or something, that car was basically just done for. That was gone. But my host dad, that first summer, we found him just purely from knocking on doors, and had knocked, and he was open to it. He had a pool house. He had this tiny little dog. His name was Sheldon Young. I'll never forget Sheldon Young. At the time, I think he was in his early 70s. He was retired, but this guy, like, he should have in the book of Brandon Q's life. Sheldon Young should probably get a whole chapter. I mean, this guy had such an interesting story. People had told me, I'm like, oh, I'm staying with Sheldon Young. And people knew Sheldon Young, and apparently he went to jail for like weed or something like that. But he was not like that kind of guy. But he also told me that his daughter was in Playboy, and he was always talking about his girlfriends that he had. He had like in his 70s, he had like young girlfriends that were like in their 30s and 40s. This guy was a character. I love this guy. But he had a tiny little used car dealership that maybe had 5 or 6 cars on the lot. And so being the nice guy that he said, well, you can borrow one of my cars. And so it was this tiny little, I don't know, Sunfire, Firebird, something like that, tiny little car, this little blue car. And I go to his lot, and he's like, all right, here's the car that you get. And I'm trying to get it started. I'm like, it won't start. What's wrong with it? Well, it turns out it's a stick shift. This is a manual, which I don't drive a manual. I had actually learned how to drive stick before, because my mom had gotten like this new Mazda 3 or something that was a manual. So I got like a couple of lessons before I went out for the summer, not thinking that I was going to need it, but was just trying to learn how to drive stick. And it was totally a sink or swim moment. The first turn I had to make was a left turn on like a 4-lane highway with lots of cars coming. And if I don't, do it right, I'm going to kill it, and I'm going to get just T-boned. And so fortunately, it works out, sink or swim. I'm able to drive this thing, but trying to take pre-approach and work on your maps while you're shifting gears, and really not good having driven a stick shift maybe 2 or 3 times in your life. But it works out for a little while. Apparently I was not very good at driving stick, because I grinded these gears so much with shifting so poorly, and I don't know, putting in the clutch at the wrong time, that I ruined this car. And so then he does get the car back, but I've ruined it. He's got to do damage control on it. So he's not really open to letting me take another one of his vehicles. So now I'm back on foot. And so I'm on foot, and I'm like, all right, I got to get some wheels, got to get some sort of, I got to be mobile. Run into this lady that's she's like, I will drive you to Walmart right now and buy you a bike. And I was like, all right, fine. So I let her buy me a bike, and I'm riding around for a few days. But after 2 days, one night, as I'm pulling back into my driveway after a rough night, I'm going uphill, and the tire just bursts. And I'm just like, all right, well, I just throw the bike. I'm like, I'm done with it. But the next day I had an about face. I realized I needed to get another bike, or not another bike, but I needed to get that fixed. So I get a new tire on it, but then the gear literally breaks off on this bike. It just breaks. So it's not like the chain falls off, but the gear breaks on it. So I'm just like, man, screw this. So the neighbor across the street from Sheldon, they give me this old bike. that's got this nice big cushion. So my ass is feeling definitely much more comfortable with this. And in the afternoon, one day, I parked the bike on the sidewalk there. Go in, go into a house, make a sale. I remember, like a stay-at-home mom. There was no one else there. Dad wasn't there. Kids weren't there. It was just me and the mom with like middle school kids or something like that. She buys the books. I'm walking out feeling great, and I'm like, "Did I park my bike? I was out here, right?" And she was like, "Oh, I don't know." And I was like, "Maybe I parked it back there." The damn bike got stolen. Now I went through 3 bikes, 2 vehicles. So I get another bike, and the other part of the adversity in this, another night, I'm walking home after a rough day, and little Sheldon's little dog, as I'm walking back to the pool house where we stayed in, it feels like it like rains on me, and then I see his dog scurry, and but then I have this terrible smell, and it hits me that that's not rain, and that was not Sheldon's dog. That was a skunk, and I got sprayed by a skunk. So I got to run inside, take all my clothes off, throw those clothes away, and try and like wash off all the stank. The bright side of that, I was done for the day already. But just all this adversity that I had to deal with. And that's why I said 4th of July, I was maybe not like that week, didn't have a great week, didn't finish, but then got refocused at the Sunday meeting. And I'll never, we talk about Hannah Reesberg, but give old Zach Reesberg some credit, her older brother. He did my PC that week, and he's like, how great of a story would it be if you overcome all this adversity and then go out and have your best week on Mom's Week, which was the following week, and then on my bike, go out and have, like 30 something customers, 724 units for my best week to, round out all that adversity that I had to go through. Week after that, Sheldon actually has someone, we go to like an auction. I actually just buy a car while I'm down there, and that vehicle then lasts me 2 or 3 summers after that. And, that was the adversity of my first summer, probably the most adversity just spread out, just kind of all these different things that could happen. So
transportation props, and you still hit number 1, baby. So ain't no excuses. You eating problems for breakfast.
Yep, that's right.
Epic. Oh man. Okay, let me leave it to you guys. I'll take a vote here. But Brandon, you just reminded me of, it's not my story, but it's a pretty funny story of one of my first years. If you guys have like 4 more minutes, I can tell it really quick. Otherwise, we can dip out. It's your call.
Go for it.
Okay, 4th summer, I recruited a guy named Tanner Everton. Ended up being the number 1 rookie of UNL that year, in Nebraska. And dude was just a machine. He just worked really hard worker, tough dude, really odd like mentality. He was just out there for the challenge. Really one of those first years that you're like, I don't know how you're going to do. You're either going to crush it or you're going to like, I don't know what's about to happen. Leave sales school. Guys feeling fired up. We gave ourselves funny haircuts later on that year. I got a whole Snapchat video of it. I could probably share it later on the show, but it's hilarious. But the car thing, we are driving. We are going to Vermont that summer, so we drive out east from Nashville, and Knoxville, Tennessee is about 2 hours away, and where we find some traffic, dude totals his car on the way to the bookfield. So we're like, okay, you know what? Eating problems for breakfast. Let's call your parents. In the meantime, we're driving. We got all this road to figure out how to get you a car to Vermont. Through a long process, we ended up finding a friend of my family's who was willing to take some money to drive a new car out to the bookfield for this kid. And so we meet him. We ended up running into him by that next Monday before we have to go sell to the next town, or before we get checked into our towns. All cool. Kid starts off. He has a great first week, off to a hot start. Week 2 or 3, can't remember exactly now. It's like a Wednesday. And the other first year comes home. I always came home last because I was working later. I come home last, and Tanner's not home. Well, at least I want to be last, but I'm not last that day. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Where is Tanner? Where is Tanner? Now it's like 11 o'clock. I'm calling my DSM. I'm calling Yvette. I'm like, hey, I don't know where this kid's at. Like, I don't know what, his car's not here. Don't know what's going on. Can't straight to voicemail. Like, we might have a situation. 11:05, kid calls me. Tanner calls me, and I always love Tanner because I may be tan, but he'll always be Tanner. And he just calls, and I'm like, dude, where the fuck are you? He goes, out in middle nowhere. what? I'm in the middle of, no, I'll call you. I'm like, all right, call me back. Calls me back another 10 minutes later, clear voice. Hey man, what's up? I'm like, bro, it's 11:15. Where the hell are you? He goes, I'm not sure. I just ran up I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. There's gravel. I just crashed my car. And I'm like, shit, what? So long story short, this kid totaled his car again, went off, hit like some bad gravel, and we're in Vermont, so there's mountains. It's like hilly. Like you go off the road, it goes off. And he got caught by a tree. Like he would have gone right or left, he would have rolled. He got caught by a tree front end, totaled that car. Ended up like I had to go drive out and pick him up. I was like, hey man, what was the last house that you knocked on that's nearest to you? He's like, it's like a mile and a half away up the mountain. I'm like, you're gonna go back to that house and you're gonna call me. I'm gonna be on my way there. Hopefully, by the time right now, you're telling me you're on this road. He had pre-approach. He didn't have his iPad. He had barely any service, but we still had paper maps. We didn't have the iPads yet, and so he was like, "I'm on this road, somewhere on this road," which could be fucking miles. So I'm like, all right, I found it on the map. I'm like, I'm just gonna drive up that road until I see you. Finally, ended up finding him at like 11:45, and whatever. He was got him home. The next day we go get him a new car because this time we're not going to drive someone out there again. We have to go get him a new car. And he goes and gets a new car, and it's a freaking stick, dude, which is why your story reminded me of this. And I know how to drive stick. The kids never even had a remote lesson on how to drive stick. And listen, if you know how to drive stick, that's great. According to some statistics, about 1 in 5 people in the United States know how to drive stick, right? So it's hard to teach someone. It's hard to teach someone when you're teaching them on level ground. Like, and what I mean by that is when the road is flat. But there's driving stick on flat land, and then there's driving stick in mountains, because when you hit the clutch, that shit is going to roll back. If you have books in the car, it's even crazier. And I had to teach this kid how to freaking drive stick in the mountains of Vermont and go, please don't die. Luckily, he never totaled it. He had that car with Vermont plates for like years after. He only sold it one summer, and I bumped into him every once in a while on campus, and he still had that car. I think up until about 6 years ago, which would have been 2 or 3 years after that summer, he finally gave it up and ended up buying a new car. But oh man, driving stick in the bookfield, you just reminded me. I'm like, holy shit, this kid totaled 2 cars in the first 2 weeks after sales school. Like, wow, this is
always somebody.
Always one asshole. Just God, dude, stay on the road. Jeez. So anyway, thank you guys for humoring me on that. I appreciate it. I don't get to tell as many stories sometimes being in this.
Good stuff, man. That's good stuff.
Appreciate it. So, hey guys, we'll wrap this one up. We're right on the 2-hour mark. Hopefully, you guys don't mind that we stayed a few minutes a little bit late. Thank you guys for giving us that time. Guys, this episode, hope you guys enjoy 4th of July special that we did. We were with Shane Hertig earlier, Brandon Q, and Kyle Kelly. If you guys want to get a hold of them, make sure you guys reach out whether you need some sort of commercial insurance and you're in Texas, or if you're looking for some solar and you're in Texas, or of course, if you need some of your money stuff talked about with Brandon, or if you want him to come over and tell you some funny jaws, he can totally go. And that's that's ha 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 in Spanish for those of you who don't know. And so yeah, on that note, thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys go check out our website, buy some merch, get yourself a hoodie, get yourself a fanny pack that says units on it. Pretty fun stuff on there, and thanks for your support. Make sure you guys sign up, sign up for the email that will be launched on August 1st on our podcast. Follow us, like, subscribe, check out this episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave us a review, all that jazz. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you guys on the next one. We are off. This is the official last episode of season 5. We are off until July 17th. We'll catch you guys then with Mitchell Steffen.